And Jessica Smith, welcome to the podcast. So grateful to have you on. You were just talking there, and our views and mindsets on what we're here to do to help other people are so aligned. This is going to be a great conversation. You were the host of the Jess Ask Podcast, which is super cool. Love that name. And you're a business and brand specialist, helping people get into where they want to go. Man, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and why you do this. And let's jump into some great conversation. And I know the listeners will definitely get something from it today. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hey, you guys, again, I am Jessica S. Smith, and I am 32 years old. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. I still reside in Alabama. I went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. Some of your listeners may not like me after that, but it is okay. It is okay. I live my life is structured like this: God first, family, friends second, and career third. If I can't do it like that, I don't want it. Amen. Amen. I think I got an amen in the corner right there.
Amen.
So, I just love helping people, as you stated, but that's such a broad term, and so I've been journeying through my life trying to figure out what is my purpose in that area of helping people, and so I found that getting people unstuck, getting people motivated, and giving them momentum, pushing them to where they may want to be, but haven't gotten that push to be right themselves. Everybody needs help, right? And so I am that person that's going to tell you like it is, so you can get where you want to be. And so I am also, like you said, a podcaster, and I just enjoy. I enjoy this realm of communication because one, the biggest thing, it leaves a legacy. And so that my children's children can see and hear from me directly and can learn from me as well. And so my biggest thing that I have going on is podcasting. It excites me, it ignites me, and it gives me an opportunity to meet great people like you.
Right back at you.
One of the things that you shared before we started recording the episode is that we all have something in common.
Yeah.
In a similar workplace. And we all worked at ERAC, which is also known as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I knew automatically when you started talking, just the way you presented yourself, Ewan already called it, you're personable, you got the smile, you got the energy, you got the passion. And, for somebody that we would have already got along and been best friends at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, because that's the personality type that they look for. And one of the things I've also learned is everybody that I know that used to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, that give you the tools to be your own boss, right?
Right.
You've applied those. I don't know how long you worked there, but what was that pivotal moment for you at Enterprise where you're like, you know what, I'm meant to do more. There's a higher calling, right? And I've always said I've been super grateful for Enterprise. I would not be on this podcast with my business partner in Ewan because that's where we met.
Yeah.
And I'm curious with you, what made you? What was your trigger? What was that moment where you're like, you know what, I'm going to, and you can share your story. So I won't share your story on what you told us, before the podcast. And if you want to share that I'm going all in, I'm going to be a full-time podcaster and they're going to get my best. Where was that moment?
So honestly, I've always known that I was not going to be at Enterprise forever. Like you said, Enterprise is a great company. You cannot tell me this company is not a great company. They really invest in their employees to the development. Like you can't pay for that type of development. And so I am grateful for the experience, but I always knew that there was something more. I just didn't know what it was, right? And so recently, this year, I started my podcast October 2022. And so I was by myself doing it, trying to figure everything out. And then I got my partner, Desiree Danielle, who I absolutely love. She's my best friend. She came along and said, hey, I want to enhance. And through that moment and through all these other moments, these coaching moments, I started to take myself a little bit more seriously. And that led to me to get the opportunity to moderate for Tabitha Brown's book tour in Birmingham. And so she reached out to me. And in that moment, when she reached out to me, my people at work said, it won't be long. So it's one thing when you think you're not going to be there long. But it's another thing when your people around you are saying, hold up, you've taken yourself too seriously in this area. You've taken this leap of faith. You're doing the thing. Not only are you doing the thing, but you're excelling not only here but outside of these walls. So it's not going to be long. And it literally wasn't long. I had a conversation with my manager and said, hey, this is on me. Like I said, I'm a woman of faith, and I prayed about it. And it was just time. And you just have to know and trust what you're sensing to know that it's time for you to take that leap. And so now that I've taken that leap, I've gotten so much more opportunity in the area of, I call it entertainment, but also like specifically podcasting, moderation, hosting, being that chick, as as some of my friends will call it. But I've seen myself grow because the leap that I took, it wasn't an easy one. I demoted myself from being a branch manager, and we all know that enterprise don't hold any money back. Like, if you earn your commission, you earn your commission. And so I was doing well, so it wasn't like I was struggling in an area. Sales are always up and down, but I was, one of the top managers. I was one of the top employees, and I took a leap of faith from being excellent in one area, to be excellent in this area.
Mm. I mean, you mentioned something earlier too, and it's going to come right back to what you said there, but you help people get unstuck, right? And normally someone that can help other people get unstuck is someone that was stuck themselves. And I'd love to hear, how did you earn that right to coach them on that? Like, what was your experience with that gives you that wisdom to pass on? And I guess the second question is, like, what do you think is getting most people stuck right now? And so, yeah, if you, two questions there, like, what's your experience from, because we'd love to hear it. And then how are you helping people do the same thing?
I love that question, Ewan. So when Jessica was stuck, what does it look like when Jessica gets stuck? Because I'm not gonna act like there aren't moments where I say, "Oh, I'm not moving here." When I've been stuck, mostly it's been because I've been in my own way. What does that mean? I have I'm a big thinker. I'm a big picture thinker. But I'm also a perfectionist, right? And so sometimes when it's not going the way I see it going, then I'm like, oh, I can't move, or it's not going to go. It's not going to do well. There's no other way. And so in those moments, I've had to make a strategic move into knowing where to go. Earlier, I said birds of a feather flock together, right? And so I know my flock. I know where to go. I know where to put myself to be able to get unstuck. And some people don't think this is so good. Some people don't know where to go. It's not that they want to remain stuck. It's that they just don't have the strength to get unstuck, or the mental capacity. It's one thing when you're doing it for somebody else, but it's another thing when you're doing it for yourself. And so because I've been coached and I know that it works, I want to extend the same thing that was deposited into me to others, and I'm still being coached. That's the thing. I don't want to coach, and I don't want you to be coached by me, or I don't want you to talk to me if I'm unwilling to do the things that I am encouraging you to do. And so what allows me to be unstuck is I remain in my flock. I remain around people that are able to get me back. Hey, Jessica, why don't you pivot here? Right. And then I'm taking heed to what they're suggesting. I'm trying. I'm not too prideful, right? There are times where I've found myself to be prideful. I'll admit it. Anybody, if you want to raise your hand,
we've all been there.
I'll admit it.
We talk about it regularly
because and we talk about being an enterprise. I had this facade of I had to know everything. And I failed when I had those moments of where I thought I had to know everything. But if I had to know everything, there wouldn't be Sean, there wouldn't be Ewan, there wouldn't be my coach D, there wouldn't be other people that I'm supposed to do community with. And so the biggest thing about coaching is not necessarily about I'm trying to tell you what to do, is that I'm trying to build a safe space for where you can grow. And so I've grown, so I have the permission to help other people grow.
Love that.
You're speaking my language. When I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, man, this is a similar story that I went through. And I don't know if you caught that, but I resonate with what you're saying. We have very similar strong personalities. You ever been told you have a strong personality?
Yes, always.
And when you're doing coaching, people are leaning into that because they're wanting to be coached. They're wanting to have the light shed on their blind spots. And that sounds like that's what happened to you when you hired your first coach. And so we preach that all the time on the Level Up and Live podcast on how powerful coaching and mentoring is, just getting mentored or coached from somebody that's been down the road that you want to go down.
Yeah.
And I can hear it, and we want that for everybody listening to this. And I think that's what's been our North Star for just if one person can apply one thing out of this episode today and it changes their life, then it's all worth it because it's changed your life. Your coach has changed your life. My coach that I hired multiple years ago has changed my life. And so it's like, how do we do more of that? Make sure we get clear on our message and impact more lives. And so it gets me giddy and it gets me excited because you're on this journey, this entrepreneur journey. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited for you. Now, when you got unstuck and you have this new North Star, this new vision, this new, authenticity, this new conviction, I want to help the world. What would you say? And I think Ewan had mentioned this earlier. What would you say people are, what's the number one reason people are stuck? What are they stuck in? When they come to you and it's because when I coach people, they come to me, that's because they don't know what they want their life to stand for or their business. So I coach a lot of business owners. And so when they come to me, they're like, what I have found is they're stuck because they don't know which direction they want their business to go and what they want it to do for them. So they don't have that vision. They don't have that macro like you have right now. You have that macro. You have what it looks like. You can almost paint a picture, manifest it, what you want to do in 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24 months.
Yeah.
And so for you, when people are coming to you, who somebody listening to this and they're like, yes, I'm stuck. Who is that person? Who is that listener listening to this that comes to you? And then how can you help them overcome that if they're stuck in what they're going through?
That's good. So there are two things that I noticed that when people come to me, they're asking. One, I see it, but I don't know how to get to it. Two, I see it, and I know how to get to it, but I'm blocking myself mentally to get there. Right. Yeah. Mostly when people they don't have the strategy, it's because they haven't settled themselves enough to make the plan. And so sometimes you just need that partner, right? Somebody to partner with you and say, hey, this is a great idea, or even this is a horrible idea. Why are we going this direction? Let's tweak this a little bit. And this is why you're stuck here. But let's assume this is a great idea. You're stuck and you can't get there. All right, let's bring this down. Okay, what can we do? What can we do in 30 days? What can we do in 2 weeks? What can we do this week? What can we do today? And something I had to judge myself on is, where's all my time going? One of the things I talk to my people about is, where is your time going? Right? I just talked to one of my I call them partners. I talked to one of my partners yesterday, and she was mentioning all these things are happening at the same time. And I'm like, baby, life is life, and for me too. At the end of the day, the podcast got a podcast. Jessica has to get up for work. I still have other things going on, but where do I fit myself in? Where do you fit the dream in? Where do you fit the motion in? And so we all have the same 24 hours a day. I know it's easy, but the reason why we don't all think that we have the same 24 hours is because we haven't reviewed our time. The reason why I can still keep going with my podcast and all hell is breaking loose is because I've already planned to prosper. If we don't plan to prosper, we automatically fail. And the reason why I know that is because I failed multiple times until I started planning. And so a lot of people A lot of people just need help with structure. It's not that it's a bad idea, it's that I don't have the strategy to get there. But the second person that is like, okay, I wrote out the plan is the perfectionism, like the perfectionist like me. We don't know how to pivot. Okay, so now I need to calm your nerves to say, okay, you got this. Why are we struggling? It's because mentally you've already told yourself that you wouldn't get there. So we have to overcome that. We got to get to that why, right? I don't want to call myself a therapist or anything like that, but we always got to get to the point of why. We always got to know, why are we acting like this? Or why are we not completing this task? Why? So we can overcome that, so that won't be a struggle. Or if it's a thorn in our flesh, we know we already got a plan to address the thorn. And so it's
Yes.
all centered around planning to prosper.
How do you like to plan, Jessica? Do you have like Sean? It took over a year for me to get onto this, but it's a weekly design. It's basically planning out your 7 days, and the resistance in my own self I see in a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to sit down and plan that week out because it's not something we were taught. We don't even really. A lot of times we don't want to see what's coming. We don't want to know. Blind eye. At least I had an excuse. Well, I didn't know. That's kind of an excuse people use in it, but it's total self-sabotage.
Yeah.
But once you get into that planning and you can really kind of see what's coming, it builds this tremendous amount of confidence. And because what people are afraid and don't take action when they're uncertain. And when you create certainty, what happens? The opposite, right? You get confident and you get this strength. How do you help people plan, and how do you do it yourself? Like, what do you recommend?
So I actually have this new time blocking that a colleague of mine shared with me, and it has helped me so much. So it's like a Excel sheet, and it has a start time of maybe 4 a.m. till 10 at night. So I know that I'm cutting everything off by 10:30. So I know I'm working with that gap. So we got to know, this is so good. We have to know our boundaries. We have to know our time boundaries. So in the day, when do I want to get up? And when do I want to lay it down? That's the first question we want to ask ourselves, right? The second question is, okay, what is there to do? What do I consistently do every day? I know I got to wake up and take a bath. I might be praying in the morning. What am I being consistent? I'm working out. I am organizing that time, and I'm putting that time in that schedule. So that's one color. It's like a color block. That's one color. I have another color when because technically I'm still an enterprise employee. So I have that time blocked out. Say this time belongs to enterprise. They are giving me money so that I can be on their clock. So nothing needs to go here. But then after that, I need a break. I need to go back into myself, right? So I have some more me time. And then I have my time available for my coaching. I might be reading. I might have stuff for my church. Every day, all the colors look different, but I know when I see the color, this is the time I need to do this. And that also requires discipline, right? At first, it's like, it's something I'm still working on because this is a new method that I'm trying, but it's worked the best. I'm such a big picture thinker. I already know what I'm doing next year. Like, I'm like, okay, it's on the calendar. That's one of the things that they loved about me, because you don't have to guess. I'm already taking off because I got this, and this to do. But I had a challenge to zone back in on my daily goals. And so one of the things my coach, like I mentioned to you guys earlier, David Shands, we're in this morning meetup community, and he challenged us. He was like, just write the 4 things that you need to get done today. Right. I didn't write like writing. I like sticky notes and all this stuff like that. I would put it, it was so horrible. But as I've matured, I'm like, oh, I really need to write it down. And now I'm to a point where I'm texting Desiree. I started this week texting Desiree, hey, this is what I have to do today. And I'm getting more of those done, because now not only discipline, but accountability. So now you're adding layers to make sure that you are prospering in those moments. So.
Well, when we read a book recently, it's called 6 Habits of High Performance People. And so the first habit is getting super clear, which it sounds like you're super clear. And so that's one of the things that we preach and teach, is get super clear. Because once you get super clear, the next step is conserve your energy.
Yeah.
So so conserving your energy, because once you get clear, you know the direction that you're going. Now how to conserve that energy. Well, one of the things I've realized in my own self going through these different habits that, is there's a scale of like 0 to 5. And so you take this assessment and then it tells you where you are in these assessments. But one of the things it doesn't really hone in on is when you get stuck, or when you're lost or frustrated, or you don't know what's my next move, right? You hear chess players, they know 5 moves ahead. And so a lot of times I find myself getting, that word stuck. And I know a lot of people in our community, or a lot of our listeners, a lot of our audience, that happens a lot. And so if you're not clear, if you don't have that energy, then it's only a matter of time before you get fatigued, before you get exhausted, before you throw in the towel. I'm curious with you, how do you approach that? Because it's not if, but when you get stuck again, right? And what is your plan of attack when that happens? What is your go-to? Do you pick up a podcast? Do you do a little research on that area? Do you call a coach? Do you call a mentor? For people that are getting stuck because it's happening more and more and more, they don't know where to turn. There's an information overload and there's less action and less accountability. What has worked best for you to keep driving the spear and keep moving the needle?
Y'all are stirring me right now.
Well, right back at you. When Sean asks a question like that, it means you're saying something that's helping us. Like, we're loving this.
So that is such a good question, because I recently was burnt out because I did not notice. I'm a goer. If an Energizer Bunny was a person, it might be me. Okay. Because I'm doing so many things at one time. And my fault in that is that sometimes I'll do so much and I'll be running on empty. All right, when the gas light come on, it's like, but I can still go. I still have time to make it to the gas station. Girl, if you're gonna mess up your car if you keep doing that. You're gonna be paying for more maintenance issues that you could have avoided, right? If you had just done what you were supposed to do in the time that you need to do it. So what I've learned from that is what I'm sensing is to utilize the toolbox, right? So if you think about a toolbox, you're not always going to use your hammer. You're not always going to use your flathead or whatever. I'm not even going to act like I know everything in the actual toolbox, okay? I don't fix too much. Not like that.
We don't know either, man.
we don't know either, yeah.
But if you consider a toolbox, all the tools may not be used at the same time, but the tools that are needed are still in that box. And so you have to think about your life toolbox, right? In my life toolbox, I have my coach. I have my best friend Desiree. I have my church. What do I have for me for when I am not okay? And then I have to utilize the tools that's in that box. I have to open the box and say, it's time for the hammer. It's time for the flathead. It's time for the screws. What is it? You have to know that, and you have to watch this. You have to know that. And the only way you know that is if you spend time. So I'm not just spending time with these people in a point of panic. I'm spending time with these people in a point of just any given moment. So now when I'm not okay, because they've seen me in my good moment, they know how to get me back connected with myself. That's the benefit of community. That's the benefit of having a coach, because they coach you through moments that you might not have ever seen before, but they have, right? You invest. That word is so important to me, because sometimes we miss our own investments because we think we lack. But what you're willing to invest is what you're going to get out of it. But I've invested some things and gotten so much more than what I've expected, right? Quick story. My coach, she's also my spiritual mother. Her name is Dr. D. Funby. It was kind of interesting how we met and how our lives aligned. But when they did, I didn't expect her to be my coach. I didn't expect her to do anything. I didn't even know what a coach was, if I'm quite honest, right? I didn't really know what that was. I didn't come from that world where you invest in yourself and you invest in these coaches, right? I didn't come from that world. So it didn't make sense to me to have somebody tell me what to do when I got a mom and daddy. Like it didn't make sense to me. But she came into my life And the value that she added to my life pushed me to my purpose. So her presence, just having her, just seeing how she moved and seeing what she did, having her in my toolbox has positioned me to even being able to talk to you guys now.
Yeah.
Right. And so we talk about coaching, we talk about the toolbox, but the biggest idea is community. And when I haven't used my community, that's when I fall into depression. Right. I become more anxious. I get the lies told to me that I'm not enough. I'm unworthy. I won't get out of this. Right. I have to have something that combats that. And so I also plan my breaks. As I said earlier, Desiree and I took a break in July. And when I say I took a break from church. I took a break from the podcast. We weren't recording. Episodes were still uploaded. We took a break from everything. I took a break from everything except work because I need my check, right? What it did was it made me question myself on, do I still want this? Is this still necessary for my life? Am I still on the right direction? Is my mission, is my core? Am I still acting out what I'm saying I want to do? Like, am I making sense to me? So I was able to reassess me so that when I represented myself and people asked me that question, I could say, you know what, I am good. I ask myself the hard questions, and I'm in therapy. I'm big on therapy. I love Jesus and therapy.
Support that. 100%.
So I plan my breaks. I'm learning how to admit that I'm feeling burnt out or this is not going to work in the blocking of my time schedule. And I've learned how to say no.
How long did you take when you took that time off? Like, what was your time frame?
The full month of July.
Full month. It was a full month. I love that you did that. That's wisdom. You know, a lot of people might think if they're not. A lot of people think I don't need that, or they might even see that as weakness. They don't realize how much of a strength that it is.
Agreed.
That you did that, and once you know. But that was really awesome that you were able to do that. Is there any advice you'd give people on how to do that? Like what maybe structurally, so it doesn't bleed into. You know, what was your thought process in doing that?
That's good. I would advise you to, like I said, to go ahead and plan for it. If you plan for it, then two things happen. People respect it, and while you also honor it, and then you also have something to look forward to. So it helps you work hard. Like, so when Desiree, taking the podcast, when Desiree and I told her, I said, hey, we taking a break in July because I'm about burnt. I feel it. Like I am at my wit's end. We're taking a break. And I said this in maybe February or March. I said this. Cool. And so now we know that we need X amount of episodes to get us through at least July.
Yeah.
We made sure we recorded enough episodes so that we would be good into mid-August. So now planning my breaks helps me plan my success.
Yeah. That's so wise. You had to go slow to go fast there. We talk about that all the time. Like you really have to slow down. People think I got to go faster, got to go harder, and you already mentioned it. That is the burnout. That the very thing that got you to where you needed to take that time off. All the things you've been doing got you there, and it teaches you. Oh, I need to step back. And then when you mix that in with the planning, then you can really kind of take stock and say, okay, now I can fit it all in and not be burned out because there's 24 hours in a day. How does someone run 70 companies that is worth $7 billion? Like Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, like these people, how do they fit it all in when they're doing all these things? Well, they've got systems, processes, it's all structured. And they can handle it all, and they have people in place, like you said. Like you have all the pieces of the puzzle in there. Where as opposed to someone that's just go go go, they have none of it. They don't have a coach, don't have a mentor, they don't have a game plan, they don't have the thought process to go slow to go fast.
Yeah,
think about that. No wonder people are struggling, right? Because they don't have all these pieces to the puzzle. But you have to go slow to get all that, right? And no one wants to go slow.
No one wants to go slow because we're so caught up in the fast life of, and I love social media. I really do. This and the thing about social media management, we think of that as a construct of somebody managing my social media. but you have a responsibility of managing your social media. What do I mean by that? The algorithm responds to you. And if I am in an algorithm of, oh, this is the lifestyle I want to live, and I'm consistently looking at other people's lives. Well, some people are getting better at it, but some people are not telling you the full story, or you're not tuned into the story. You're tuned into the result, and you're so result driven that you don't understand the process. So now that we become so consumed with the idea of being great that it depletes us. And so now, and the reason why I can talk about that is because I'm telling on me. Like I'm looking at Sean, I'm looking at you and like, oh my goodness, like you're so neat. And y'all are running and you're running all these marathons and whoop-de-doo, but I won't even get on the treadmill.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. And so I have to position myself to win where I am. And when I do that, I have the momentum to get where I want to be.
Yeah.
One of the questions that's been stimulating on me, like that I wanted to ask you, is because everybody in my life, family, community, my team members, they look for guidance in podcast, YouTube, ChatGPT, Google. They do all this research, myself included to a certain degree. It was a DIY, do-it-yourselfer, thinking that it was going to get me to where I wanted to go. But I'm a big believer in my thinking that got me to where I was 3 years ago was not going to get me to where I am today. I had to change my mindset. I had to change reframe my thinking. And if 10,000 people are listening to this, 95% of those people are not going to seek counsel. They're not going to seek guidance like you did, like I did, like Ewan has did, which we all know has been the separator because it is shining the light on blind spots. What would you tell somebody listening to this that is struggling with, like, yes, I'm stuck. I don't know my North Star, don't know my next direction. I don't know my next move, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And what would be that one headliner, like, this is the thing that you need to do for you if you're listening to this 5 years ago, even 3 years ago?
I wouldn't even tell them anything. I would ask this question: what are you willing to do to get where you want to be? It's a simple question, because some of us say we want things, but we're not willing to do the things that's necessary to get where we want to be. Right?
I'm willing to do what it takes, Jessica. I'm willing to do what it takes. You tell me, and I'm listening.
Okay. So now that you have, okay, let me make sure I'm hearing this question right. So you want me to position that person into getting where I am, right? So giving them structure. And is that what we're role playing right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I hear what you guys are saying. I understand the forward thinking, backwards planning, structuring my day, organizing my day with who it is that I need to become, but I don't know what next step to take. I don't know. I don't have the guidance. I hear what you're saying and I've applied it for 2 days in a row, but I'm not seeing results. I'm not seeing progress. Am I doing something wrong? Am I missing something?
Okay.
Who do I reach out to? I don't have anybody. I don't have a role model, Jessica. I don't have somebody to guide me.
That's good.
I'm stuck. I'm lost. I'm trying to do what you're saying on the podcast and on the YouTube and on what I'm learning from, social media, but 3 days into this thing and it's not working.
Okay. So I want to go back to something, because if they were to say that to me, I got more questions. So I believe in getting understanding, you ask questions, right? So specific to a person that's saying that to me is, okay, what's your goal and what's your why? The reason why you're not motivated is because you don't know those two. And when I've been like that, or I've gone back to those places, I didn't understand either my goal or my why. And that's what drives me. That doing something, and I keep going to podcasts, you guys, because, and Sean and Ewan, y'all can attest, it's not to be consistent in this era, and then is module movies or minimum increases. Something, we're not famous, we're not Beyonce, we're not any of these big top name influencers, but to be consistent in something, you have to believe that you're making your mark. It starts in the mind. I have to believe it. And the only way I believe it is I understand my why. I understand that what I'm doing in the area, in the circumference that I'm doing it is impactful and it's effective. And I asked myself a question, preparing yesterday is who does my decision benefit? My decision, what I decide on today in this moment, me deciding to come on this podcast, me deciding to do my research, me deciding to even take a walk. Like what decision, what the decision that I'm making, how does it benefit the next person, right? And so when you make the connection of the importance to people, I think that also helps, because sometimes we believe that if we're doing the things, the moves that we're making are not important. Um, so that person seems stuck because they don't feel valued. They don't seem like they value themselves. They don't feel value from others. So I'm more of a question. I'm gonna ask you more questions to get to the root of the issue, and then we can start with your okay. What are your goals looking like? What are your whys? How are you structuring your day? Okay, how much do you have? Why do you have 10 things on a list to get to that? Let's make it a 3. Let's start with 3 because you're not even getting 1 done. let's bring that list to 3. Now you're psyching yourself up on these small victories to get to the bigger one. And so I think it's just the reconstruction of what you possibly already doing. Let's twist that up. All right, are we willing to be consistent at the thing that we said we're going to be consistent with? One of the things I said I was going to be consistent with was going live every day for TikTok for a while. I did that. My goal was to get to 10,000 followers, and I did that. Right. So you got to I didn't feel like doing it every day. And I told them people, I don't feel like being on here right now. I'm doing it because I said I was going to do it. And you know what? They love the honesty. They were like, you know what, Jessica, we're here for you. And I would let some of them join me on live and they'll talk. And, so having fun with where you are and just being honest. I don't feel like doing this, but I'm doing it because I said I was going to do it. I'm going to tell the truth on me if I don't do anything else.
You hit the nail right on the head. I couldn't agree with you more. And you nailed it. My question, you nailed it for people listening to this, and myself included, is like, if I get stuck or if I get lost in something or if I get frustrated in something, it's because, and I'm ready to throw in the towel or I'm fatigued or I'm exhausted, it's because I don't have a big enough why. I don't have a big enough emotional compelling nature behind what it is that in that area of life that I want to do. And I think that's what it comes down to, is doing the hard things, asking yourself the hard questions. And that's what I'm hearing you say is, I'm asking myself the hard questions. I'm asking myself, well, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to lose 15 pounds? Right? And so I think by doing that, spending the time on that, man, that's where it starts. And then the second part that I would, is what I was trying to pull out of you is coaching, right? Talking to somebody that's going to get you to where you want to go. Yeah. And it sounds like it's made a big impact on your life as far as do you think you would be where you are today sitting on this podcast if it wasn't for coaching or mentoring?
Not when I say not at all, I say that in the most confident way. My first coach is so anointed and powerful and brilliant that it's a certain level of deposits that you get being around people. But then to the intimacy of coaching, they get to know you and you get to know them. And you're like, oh, well, this is so good. So people that like sports, right? The reason why the coach is because the coach can see things while you're on the floor. Yeah. And they can maneuver the plays that you're making because you might be too close to it. So now there's a different perspective that puts you in a position to win. You still got to play, but your coach is helping you enhance your chances of winning where you want to be, making the shot, getting a touchdown, whatever you want to, the analogy you want to use. They're giving you a perspective so that you can win. And a lot of us, I'm going to tell you this, what I found when I didn't want to coach or when I didn't feel like I needed coaching anymore, is because I felt like I needed to hide something or I was ashamed of something. So there is a level of vulnerability and transparency that is required in coaching that intimidates people or worries people, and they think that, oh, because I'm not there, that means that I'm unworthy of coaching. But you are more than worthy at that point. You need the most help, right? And so I would encourage people to just get over themselves enough to be able to at least present themselves to somebody that is willing to assist you in an area.
Mm-hmm. If you take the coach from the sideline and put him in the game, he's going to need a coach too.
Yeah.
And so it's a revolving, everybody needs it. And there's always the position that you're in. There's the coach needs the help. And when he needs it, he'll get a coach. And so we're all playing, and we could all be coaches to a certain degree, right? Like it's a trained skill, and you're doing it so very well. But I don't think people realize if they were to give them self-advice, or if someone came to them with their own problem and asked them questions, they would ask the right questions. They would get that person with their problem to the right place. But you can't do it on your own because, like you said, you can't see if you're in the game. So you have to have someone else do it for you, and it just speeds everything up. And so it's beautiful that you said that. And you said you're on TikTok. You have 10,000 subscribers, and you're a brand strategist. I had to ask before. We're getting close to time here, but how do you do that? What is your brand strategy? What advice would you give to someone to brand themselves, to help others, or whatever it is that they're going for? Like, what's some of your go-to comments there?
So I'll make it short. I have a saying where you need three things: commitment, consistency, and community. With those three things, you will excel. The ways you learn to do that is, first of all, you have to commit to yourself, right? You don't want to lie on yourself. You don't want to say that you're going to do something and you fall short. Okay. So you have to have that commitment. That's where that why comes in. That's where the code comes in. Consistency. When you're consistent, consistency opens the door for people to trust you. So if I said I was going to show up to TikTok every day live, and I did that at the time I did it, that's how I got to the 10,000 places, which those combined creates community. And so now community is not just having the people there, but it's engagement. And so my foundational principle, or whatever you want to call it, is those three things. So committing, consistency, and community.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Well, Jessica, you're a type of individual that is just, every time we talk to, like, it's our jam. The frequency's there, the in spirit's there. And I'm a big believer in the Lord works in mysterious ways. So there's a reason why you're on this podcast today. If we can lift you up and support you and continue to, strive to help and impact and serve. And that's what we've done here today. That's what you've done here today, with your insight, with your experience, with all your value bombs. We just greatly appreciate you saying yes to be on the podcast today. So thank you very much.
Thank y'all. I had fun.
Two final questions for you. The first one is, how can our listeners and our community at Level Up and Live support you?
Oh man, y'all, I have this goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Okay. So that would help a lot. So Jess Ask the Podcast is a safe space for influencers to decompress, have fun, and just ask. And y'all, if y'all enjoyed this conversation, we have plenty of conversations just like that over there. So if you wouldn't mind just going over at minimum YouTube, but we're on all platforms. I'm the Jessica S. Smith on other platforms as well.
Awesome. Fantastic. We'll have that in the show notes as well. The second and final question is, what does Level Up and Live mean to you?
2 letters. G-O.
Go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Come on.
I love that.
Move the needle.
I've not heard that one before, and I love it.
Go. Awesome. Well, we always end the show, Jessica. Thanks again for being on the show today with Level Up and Live.
Thank you.
Level Up and Live.